This show is brought to you by X Factor FM. Attention all units. Time to rise and grind. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. You put in the hours on the job site, the factory floor, and the rigs. But here, right now, the mission is different. Welcome to Operation Fatherhood. The mission brief is simple. Lead with strength, guide with heart, show up for your kids like you show up for your work site. Every single day, no excuses. This is your call to gear up, step in, and execute the most important role of life, being a dad. Operation Fatherhood, hard hats, soft hearts. The mission starts now. Welcome back to Operation Fatherhood, the mission where blue-collar dads lead the front lines of life. Appreciate y'all for tapping in. Today's episode definitely hits home for me and for every working man out there that has looked at a paycheck stub and thought it's not just money, it's a promise. It's a promise to keep the lights on. It's a promise to provide for our family. It's a promise to make sure that they got food on the table, a roof over their head, a promise that all this hard work, the sweat, the hours, the grind means something bigger. So this one's for the fathers who clock in not only for glory, but for love, right? This is Paychecks and Promises. So one thing I want to say, and I want to preface this, right, that yes, we like looking at the paycheck, especially when we do put in all those hours on the job site, on the road. You know, shout out to all my dads that are truck drivers that stay on the road. You know, they may get to come home on the weekends, but Monday through Friday, they're on the road, they're driving, right? So this is very, very key, because we look at our paycheck stubs and and it sucks to say, but we're trading time for money, right? And time is the one commodity that you cannot get back. Once it's gone, once that 24 hours is done, you cannot get that 24 hours back. You can't get those precious seconds, minutes, hours back. So when we talk about, paychecks, and, again, it's not how much you're making, but what are you instilling and letting your kids know why you're working, how you're showing up to the job, and what it's for. So the real weight of a paycheck, right? Every paycheck tells a story of sacrifice, a story of missed sleep, sore muscles. I know many a times, working in the refineries and construction, you get off of work and you're sore, right? Your body aches. Your body ain't like what it used to be 10, 15 years ago. A lot of missed sleep. If you're on the night shift, that sleep schedule sometimes gets to be a pain in the ass. The long drives, right? If you're a truck driver, you're driving long distances for days on end. If you're having to travel from different job sites ever so often, 2-3 weeks here, you have to drive to the next job. Those long drives end up being, where that sacrifice that we put in. But every paycheck ends up telling you that. The pride and pressure that comes with being a provider. Now, I am so proud to be a dad, and I think a lot of you guys out there are proud to be dads. But there comes a lot of pressure with being a dad, with being a provider. Is it enough, right? I remember some day before I got into the trades, before I started working in the refineries, I was medical records clerk, administrative assistant. I did when I, trying to again provide for the family. Hell, I even went door to door selling Kirby vacuums. If anybody knows about that, selling Kirby vacuums, right? We come, have our little, our one vacuum and all the little pads that they put out. You try to show them all the good features and hope that they buy it. And that was commission based. There were some days I didn't sell a vacuum. So, it was not a good job, but it was something that I was trying to, again, provide for the family. So there is a lot of pressure when, you are the provider. If you're in a 2-income household, right, you and your spouse, your significant other, girlfriend, soon to be wife, fiance, whatever it may be, is also working, that kind of helps. I'm from the old school where, it's, the man should provide. Times have definitely changed. And I think in today's society, we need a 2-income household, but it definitely is a lot of pressure when, you are the provider. And also, not only that, the pressure of being the provider with little ones, right? Making sure they don't ever go without. I have always told my daughters that they will never go without. They will never go without lights. They will never go without food. They will never go without a roof over their head. And again, that's my promise to them. So that way they don't know what that feels like to go without. And again, it's a lot of pressure, a lot of weight, a lot of stuff that we, deal with. We deal with that mental load of it's all on me. And I think that if you take a step back, right, you zoom out just a little bit. Yes, it may be all on you. But if you open that line of communication to your partner, right? And again, you could be from the old school. You want a stay-at-home mom. You don't want nobody raising your kids. I was like that. And, when all of my girls, came, I didn't like anybody holding them. I didn't like anybody, taking care of them for long periods of time. So it was, I ended up making, my wife stay at home. But what did that do? That led to me being the sole provider in a sense, and it was all on me. If I didn't work, if I left a job, if I didn't bring home a paycheck, we weren't going to eat. So the mental of having that responsibility and having that mindset of it's all on me, yes, we do deal with that, but that's part of life. That's part of being a dad. And I would, even if I, was down to my last $50, it would go towards the kids, right? It would go towards the kids. We can stretch $50. You can stretch $50 until the next pay period, right? Maybe something doesn't get paid, or maybe, you can't, buy that new game or that new Xbox or PlayStation controller, or, you might have to rearrange some things, but the kids will never go without. And again, balancing the need to provide financially with also needing to be there present emotionally, I think plays a big part. Yes, they know that you're working for money. They know that they're going to have the things that they need. But I also think that if you can take those days off to be able to spend time with your family. They call an optional, Saturday or Sunday. Yes, the double time, the time and a half, the double time on Sundays works. It's great. It makes for a bigger paycheck. But if you're not there, again, time is the only thing we can't get back. So if you're not there in the present with your kids, I think, that they'll start to see that. And, dad's a workaholic. I know my girls have told me that, Dad, you work too damn much, right? Why do you work so much? But I honestly have taken the time to sit down and actually let them understand why I am a workaholic, right? Because I want them to have everything, one, that I didn't have, and some dads out there, you want to make sure that your kids have what you didn't have. You want to be maybe the dad that maybe you didn't have, right? I didn't grow up with my real dad. I did have a stepdad. So my stepdad, taught me some good values, great work ethic. But I wanted to make sure that I was in my daughter's lives, and be the dad that they needed me to be. So a couple of tips when we're talking about the weight of the paycheck: reframe your mindset with, from providing isn't just paying bills. It's actually building stability and opportunity, right? A lot of times, if you have a side hustle that you want to get jump started, well, that 9 to 5 or, that job that you have can now maybe, potentially build that stability and that opportunity for you to transition to maybe have more time to get some of that time back and stop trading that time for money. Just reframe that mindset. Yes, we know we are all paying bills: lights, electricity, mortgage, rent, car notes, food, you name it. But if you go from it just being that to it's building stability and opportunity, then some things might start to shift. You might start to, maybe having more of a savings, or maybe even having, that extra income to jumpstart that side hustle that you want, to be able to free up some more of your time to be able to spend with your kids. Make sure that you track how your earnings directly impact your family's future, right? Visual proof gives purpose. Track how, again, I've sat down. Me and my wife have sat down with the kids, and kind of, not giving them too much detail, because again, you don't want the kids to worry about what's going on in the household that they don't need to worry about just yet, right? But showing them, hey, this is what we have to pay out. This is what's coming in. So, you might not be able to get that new toy, or you might not be able to get, those, $150 sneakers right now. But we're going to be on track. We're going to be able to get you those maybe next paycheck, or, here shortly. But making them understand that, hey, this is for our family's future. This is making sure that all of our bills are paid, that we're good to go. So just kind of keep that in mind. Keep them, again, not all the way in the business. They don't need to understand when dad gets paid and how much dad gets paid. I tell you right now, with my daughters, they know exactly when dad gets paid. They know, in a sense, kind of to the T of what dad's getting paid. And automatically on payday, it's like, oh, can I go get my nails done? Can I, buy this new Stanley? Or, so it's just, now that they're older, it's funny to hear them say that, but don't have them all in the business. One, letting them know what the bills are, because then they start to worry at such a young age, and they don't need to be worrying about those things right now. But again, as a family, as a collective, make sure that you again, kind of give them that visual proof of why the weight of the paycheck ends up being what it has to be. Avoid provider guilt. And what does that mean? Remind yourself that love and labor are both part of leading. They are both part of being the household leader, right? You cannot be a leader without labor, right? Because it's hard work. lots of moving parts being a leader, and you cannot be a leader in your household without love, without leading with love. So again, you're a provider. If it's all on you, own that shit, right? If it's all on you, own that shit. Change your mindset from, oh man, that provider's guilt, and remind yourself that there's love and labor in everything that you do. You're putting your heart into it to provide for your family, and you should be proud of that, dads. Again, you should be proud to be a provider for your family, for your kids. Okay, so I just want y'all to don't beat yourselves up so much. All right, pick yourself up a little bit, look yourself in the mirror, and give yourself a pat on the back, because you're doing a hell of a job. Keep up the great work. So turning money into meaning. And again, I wish money grew on trees, right? And we can go plant, $100, and then now we have $100 tree, right? But that's not the case. That would be amazing. Somebody needs to invent that. Dads, if you're, of the experiment type, go out there, provide that. Let us other dads know how we can do that. And hey, we'll all have $100 trees, money trees growing around. But turning that money into meaning. Again, kids don't understand the dollar amount when you're talking to them, when you're talking about bills, when you're trying, again, like I just said, showing them, giving them that visual proof. They don't understand the amount of $1, right? Or what it takes to pay a car note, or, what they end up feeling. And it's more of a feeling, and that conscious mind of a young adolescent. They feel the security behind it, right? Oh, dad's going to work. Oh, they paid bills. We have lights. We have a car to, get to and from, right? So making sure that you continue to reiterate that security, and giving them that security of, I'm not going to go without because my dad worked so hard, right? What you buy does not matter. And again, this is turning money into meaning. What you buy, the material possessions that we buy, right, does not matter. What you end up building does, right? Good work ethic, consistency. And I know we say that a lot. We've said that a lot in these episodes, but being consistent, showing up, right? Building your kids' emotional intelligence, right? Yeah, they might emulate us, they see us, they watch us, but building them up so that way they have and start to have a good work ethic when that time comes. Obviously, we're not going to put, a 5 or 6 year old to work, but again, now mind you, I have all girls. So again, yes, when dad's home, dad takes out the trash, dad cuts the yard, dad does, does the fix-its around the house, but they have learned and how to earn, and the power of the meaning of $1, the power of $1, right? So, doing chores around the house, and not just, wash your dish and put it in the sink. That's already done. Nobody ate on the plate except you. Now I say this because I have teenagers, right? And those that are new dads, and it's, your toddler. Okay, obviously you're not going to make them wash dishes, but incentivize them a little bit, right? We're trading that time for money, but our work ethic is getting emulated through them. So if they have all their toys before they can go play outside on the swing or go in the swimming pool, hey, their play area needs to be clean. I need y'all to pick your toys up, right? This is the trade. I want you to spend your time cleaning up your area, so now you can go have some more time. That's the reward. That ends up being what what you can do. And the more you do that, and as they get older, the tasks get a little bit different, right? When they get to that preteen stage, of course, you're going to get, met with resistance. Oh, I don't want to. Do I have to? Yeah, you need to take your ass in there and go clean your room. Go make sure your laundry's done, because nobody's doing your laundry for you. And again, if you have a mom or a dad that does your laundry, if you're, one of those nice dads, you have a significant other that does all the laundry, great, but show them how to work the washer, how to work the dryer when they get of that age. So it starts teaching them responsibility, right? It starts teaching them how to be able to fend for themselves while building that character up, while building that work ethic up. The difference between working for your kids and working with them, right? That's key, right? Yes, we work for our kids, but also working with them. And I know I said this in previous episodes, but they end up wanting to be like us. So if we're hard workers, right, we bring them along. I know I've taken one of my daughters when I was working at the steel fabricating shop in there. She wanted to come. It was a weekend. Not a whole lot was going on. Gave her a hard hat, vest, gave her the safety glasses, brought her in so she can actually see what dad does. And again, working with them in a sense of, hey, this is how something needs to be done. My prime example, picking up the toys, right? It's not just, pick up everything and just, throw it over in the corner and that's done. No, everything has a place. And again, being in the military, everything has its place on where it needs to go. So that way, when we need to get it again, we know exactly where it's at. So teaching them structure, teaching them a little bit of discipline when it comes to turning that money into meaning. A couple of tips when we're talking about this: teach your kids gratitude by showing them how hard work translates into comfort, right? A lot of time we take certain things for granted. I know I did as a young adolescent, being able to go out, play. I had the new bike and I would let, my friends ride, and I was just like, well, I didn't have to pay for it until it got messed up. And then guess what? Well, now I had to go mow lawns and, do certain things to be able to pay for the damages, the new bike chain, new tires. So just make sure that it translates into by showing them gratitude, that hard work translate into comfort, the comfort of knowing that I'm going to, have the nice things. I'm going to be able to, go play outside because all my stuff is done, and being grateful for that. Include them in small financial decisions, right? It teaches them respect and awareness, right? Family discussion. Hey guys, here's what we have, for this weekend. We can either go play at the park, maybe stop and get something to eat, or we can, go to the amusement park. Well, we're going to end up spending, the majority of our money and waiting long lines, and kind of have them in there and let them kind of understand, well, this is what we got, and here's the decision we have to make, as a unit. And I think that, again, the awareness, the respect for, hey, maybe we should just go to the park and maybe go get something to eat as a family. And then this next tip, I definitely think this is good up until a certain age. So celebrating payday as a family day, right? It's a reward for everyone's teamwork, because everybody's putting in work that's part of that family, right? The kids, making sure that they're picking up their rooms, that they're helping out around the house, they're doing their homework, they're getting good grades in school, if your significant other, your wife, your spouse is, busting their ass, keeping if they're staying at home, keeping, the home front good, making sure all the kids stay good. They're, all the food's made, dinners are done, mom's being a taxi driver going to and from, and us dads are out here busting our ass, working, and making sure shit's done, and we're providing. But make that payday a family day, so that way, and again, within reason, at up to a certain age, so that way they don't know exactly how much you make and don't have their hands out when they become teenagers or even adults saying, "Hey, Dad, I need some money," or "Mom, I need some money," right? So make it a family day, because then it makes sure that they are there, and it feels like it's a reward that we all got paid, right? We all pitched in, we all put time into this family, so we all got paid. Financial wisdom for new and working dads, for my new dads and veteran dads. Here's a little bit of financial wisdom, and I wish I had somebody tell me this and give me some of these tips to be able to, again, better manage the finances, better manage, what was, coming in and what was going out, but you don't need to make more. You do not need to make more. You just need to manage a little bit better. Let me say that again. You do not need to make more. You just need to manage better. And when I say manage, understanding what's coming in, what are the priorities, lights, a way to get to and from work, food, obviously cell phones these days, so that way you can keep in contact if you're away with the family, right? Insurance, if you're, having to put in the insurance and whatnot, car insurance, your emergency fund, and manage what is going out, right? Maybe we need to cut back on, some of the subscriptions now that they're getting outrageous and they're starting to be, really crazy. If you can downsize those subscriptions, so what? You pay less and you get a little more ads. Okay, that's fine. Put it on mute, and then when the ad's over, now you can go back to watching your movie or your show, right? Just little things like that to be able to, manage those finances. If you are the provider, right? If it's a double income household, same thing. Y'all don't need to make more, because one, that puts you in a different tax bracket. And I think when we start to make more, we think we want to spend more, but and we don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck. We want to be able to have some residual, some savings, and then now we can manage a little bit better and have that cushion, right? Saving and budgeting and insurance are acts of love in a sense, right? Saving, obviously, you save when you have kids for college. You have an emergency fund in case somebody gets sick, right? Obviously, any kind of insurance, and again, depending on the employer that you have, if they offer, insurance, life insurance, those types of things, those end up being acts of love, right? Budgeting, so that way you have more money in the savings. You're saving something to put back, and your insurances in case that again, and we don't want to think about this, but sometimes in the industries that we work in, we have to think about this. What if something happens to me right now, today? God woke you up, you're on your way to work, something happens, or you get to the job site and you're involved in an incident or an accident, right? What happens then? Right. And so you have to kind of think about that, start putting away for those insurance policies and some of those things. So that way, your family is going to be provided for. So a couple of tips when we're talking about, this financial wisdom and what we're doing: automate your savings, right? Even small amounts grow, right? Even if it's $100 a paycheck, right? $100 a paycheck goes a long way. That's a start. If you can add more, great. If some weeks you feel like you can't, if it's automated, it automatically comes out, right? It's kind of like the taxes, right? Uncle Sam decides to, take the taxes out, and guess what? They're already taken out. They're already in Uncle Sam's piggy bank. So automate those savings as well. Divvy up that check if you need to into a savings account. When you get direct deposit, you can get, $100 if your employer allows, multiple deposits, for your direct deposit. You can do it. A percentage, 10% of your check goes into a savings account. So just think about that. Start a future fund for your child. Again, college tuition. If you want to, get them set up in a business of some sort, you want them to be able to invest that in stocks and bonds, IRAs. They want to start up a business at 15, 16 years old. This future fund will be there. Show them that it's long-term thinking. This is where they start thinking, okay, I'm 10 years old. When I'm 20 years old, how much money am I going to have in this future fund, right? How much could we, potentially invest into this future fund, put back into this future fund, so that way I can have something, maybe when I graduate college or when I go off to college, right, to be able to buy stuff. So, and then invest some time into learning some of the basic budgeting and trades that increase earning potential, right? Again, this is not solid financial advice. These are just tips for you to get better at managing the finances, better at saving money, especially as a new dad, right? Now introducing a little one into your life, somebody that you have to take care of. Well, now we have to start thinking about how we're going to, it goes from 2 people now to 3 people. If you have multiple kids, 4, 5, 6, right? How, we budget for that influx, right? More food, more utilities getting used, potentially more gas as they get older and driving, car note and insurance increases, all the things. So just learn some basic budgeting, so that way you can make sure that you have that stuff ready to go. Now, promises beyond that paycheck stub. We all know that our word, especially to our little ones, ends up lasting longer than that paycheck that we just got, right? So keep your word. Make sure that you keep your word, because that's things that our kids will remember. Keeping those emotional promises that you make the little ones, right? Being home for key moments, listening to what they have to say, right? Showing up, making sure that you are keeping those emotional promises. The long-term promises, raising kids who understand work ethic and integrity, right? This is, it's ongoing, right? Because there's different stages when they're toddlers, when they're, when they're in their terrible 2s, 3s, when they start becoming into that, 8, 9, 10, 11 preteen, that's a whole different, bracket that the understanding comprehension level gets a little bit better, but still maybe not understanding work ethic, definitely integrity from early on. But yeah, keep those long-term promises as well. Write down one. Here's, some tips. Write down one fatherhood promise and post it where you'll be able to see it daily. Now, this is for self. This is for you. Write this down, right? And post it where you'll see it daily. Not the kids, not the spouse, where you'll be able to see it daily, right? Let your kids hear you say, I'm doing this for us. Not, oh man, I gotta go to work again. Or I'm tired. I don't feel like going in today. No, don't let them hear you say that. Let them hear you say, I'm doing this for us. I got us. I'm going, to do this for us. And then obviously lead by consistency. Small daily actions prove promises kept, right? Lead by consistency. The more consistent you are with kids, the more that they, again, trust what you're saying, and they understand why dad has to go away, why dad has to be away, from us to be able to provide for us. So all right, so here's a couple motivational quotes for you dads out there that are listening. And when we're, again, we're talking about money and what we do and why we do it, right? Every dollar that you earn is more than a wage. It's a promise to your family's future. Okay, so keep that promise. Make sure that, you're intentional with showing the kids the power of a dollar, how to stretch a dollar, right? Because that's key too, right? How to budget, how to make sure that they have what they need. Here's another one. You don't just bring home money, you bring home meaning, right? The meaning of why you do what you do, why you're out there grinding, sweating, hurting sometimes, that sore body that we end up having, right? Show them why, right? Why, what the meaning is. And real wealth isn't in the paycheck. It's in the peace your work provides. Again, I will say this. Real wealth isn't in the paycheck. It's in the peace your work provides to your family, to have them not have to worry about anything, to have them understand dad's out here grinding, so that way I have a better way of life. I have a better living, right? So just keep that in mind. So again, this is Operation Fatherhood. Greatly appreciate y'all for tapping in. This one's for the dads who grind quietly, for the ones who trade hours for hope and sweat for security, right? Your paycheck is more than paper. It is definitely proof that your love is in motion. Every promise you've kept, every meal you've provided, every light that stays on, that's your legacy being written one week at a time. All right. So keep showing up, keep building, because the work that you do today becomes comfort they can stand on tomorrow. So until next time, brothers, stay focused, stay faithful, and keep leading the mission. This is Operation Fatherhood. I'm Joe the Sound God. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.